Let's take a step back for a minute. In the last 2 weeks or so, the Bulls have played the Wizards, Pelicans, Pacers, and Nets, the worst teams in the NBA. Like, it's not even a question or up for debate. These are the worst teams in the league. All teams, well, except for the Pelicans, who don't control their pick, but all teams that are in tank mode and not even trying to win. Of those 4 games, the Bulls won 1 of them, a game they barely won by beating the Wizards by 1 point, which was their last win on the season so far. They have since lost to the Hornets, Pacers, and now Nets. Of course, they also lost to the Magic, but obviously the Magic are not the same caliber of team as these other guys, and the Bulls actually played decently in that game despite being shorthanded. They gave up 143 points to the Pelicans, 123 to the Hornets, and to a Nets team that has the lowest points per game in the NBA, they gave up 113. A team that is 25th in the league in three-point percentage. They let them go 19 for 46 from 3, 41%, near 50% from the field. One of the worst offensive teams in the league, and they got outworked by them on their own home court. And this coming off a 4-game losing streak and losing to some of the worst teams in the NBA. It's not like this was an isolated incident or a trap game of some kind. And so I ask you, very simply, how is this not a fireable offense? And look, I know we're all critical of AK. A lot of people hate the guy, and I know most will agree he's not really that great at his job. And what makes it more frustrating is that we know his job is safe because ownership just doesn't really care or hold people accountable. But I'm actually not talking about AK in this scenario. I'm talking about Billy Donovan, or really anyone in the coaching staff for that matter, because we saw this team play well. We saw this team clicking. We saw this team play some of the most exciting basketball we've seen from them in years. The guys were hyped. They were playing physical. They were fighting. Like, the vibe was different. It really was. People can call it fake all they want. Yeah, some of the stuff that they were doing maybe wasn't sustainable, like holding their opponent to less than 30% shooting from 3. Their own hot shooting themselves was eventually going to level off. But to me, the biggest thing was the energy and how hard they played. That was real. And when something changes so abruptly, so drastically in such a short period of time, where you go from looking like an unstoppable, scrappy team that is going to cause some problems to one of the most lackluster, disinterested, low-effort teams over the course of a couple of weeks, and nothing can explain it, to me, that's on the coach. Like, you need to figure out what happened. What the hell went wrong? Don't give me the injuries excuse, because even with all these injuries, you should still be beating some of these god-awful teams, or at a minimum, maintaining the energy and effort on the court. If your guys are consistently coming out, underperforming, playing down to their competition, not coming ready to play, giving minimal effort on the floor, to me that means they're not responding to you, and you've lost the locker room. It's one thing to lose a bad game or two, but to have it happen this many times in quick succession, like I would even say the game against the Wizards, that was a bad win. And don't forget the game before that and the blowout loss against Miami, or the horrible loss to the Pistons, who were without all of their starters, and the Bulls were given a bone to try and win that game. It's inexcusable for that to consistently happen, especially when we know this team can be better. We've seen them be better. Yeah, we can get mad and blame AK all we want, and he by no means is absolved of any blame here, but Billy Donovan also needs to work with what he has. And it's clear this group has checked out on him. Like, to me, something must have happened. Was something said, something done that has completely shell-shocked this group to go from looking like one of the happiest, most energetic teams in the NBA to a team that looks like they don't even want to be there? Did something happen off the court that they just aren't talking about or can't talk about? We'll probably never know, but it's the only way I can rationalize why this team just looks like an absolute shell of itself. In any other situation, if this happened to any other team, really in any professional sport, the coach would be gone. Because even if it isn't entirely the coach's fault, it's clear a change needs to be made when the players aren't responding to you. Like, yes, Billy Donovan is not the sole problem. Vucevic has been horrendous when it comes to his leadership, his body language, his demeanor, his atrocious defensive effort. Guys like Patrick Williams got to be better, although he was actually okay in this game. Modest has got to be better. Giddey, who's, don't get me wrong, he's been great, but he's got to be a better leader in building this team back up as their floor general. So I get it. This isn't all on Billy Donovan, but we've seen enough now. It's been 5 years going into his 6th season coaching this team. He's the 3rd longest tenured coach in the NBA, and he's consistently produced average results and consistently has had his guys play so poorly in games that they should be winning. The problem is, we know the Bulls aren't going to be firing Billy Donovan. We know he was just recently extended. I don't believe they shared for how many years, but regardless, we know the Reinsdorfs aren't going to pay a coach to not coach. In other words, fire a coach when they still have so much of their contract ahead of them. But to me, if there was ever a fireable offense, of all the times they could have fired Billy in years past, this is one of them. Seeing what we're seeing, especially after the way the Bulls started the season, is unacceptable. Honestly, what makes it more frustrating too is that had the Bulls just started out the season sucking like this, it almost would have been more acceptable as fans. Like, we would have just accepted the fact that this team sucks, and now they're at least in a position to get a top pick in a stacked draft class. It's significantly more frustrating knowing that they can be better than this, and what makes it worse is that that hot start already put them out of the running, or at least gives them significantly worse odds in the tankathon, because the teams below them, even though they've all recently beat the Bulls, they're so far below the Bulls in the standings, it's not like they're suddenly going to be going on a massive winning streak to move ahead of them. So it's almost like, well, what was the point of that hot start if you're just going to go back to sucking? At least suck consistently. I don't know, man. I don't know. This just is incredibly frustrating to watch. This team went from one of the funnest Bulls teams I've seen in years to one of the worst. Like, we always talked about fun bad last season. They're not even fun bad anymore. They're just bad bad. Anyway, I just realized I haven't actually talked about this game at all. I mean, what else is there to say? They let the Nets cook them from three. They gave little effort on defense. The Bulls themselves shot the ball poorly. They committed 17 turnovers. The Nets actually committed 20 turnovers, which is crazy. And the Bulls actually got up 90 shots compared to the Nets' just 78 shot attempts. And they got to the line more, but it didn't matter because the Nets were red hot from three. Josh Giddey was really the only one that had a good game. Triple-double, 28, 11, 11, was 10 for 14. Got to the line 11 times. Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry also gave some nice minutes for the Bulls, especially on defense. They gave some life and some energy into this team, but Giddey was really the only one who was consistent throughout. Vooch was terrible in this one, could not finish well inside, was getting outworked on defense. Madas, another meh game for him, coming off a solid game in Orlando. You know what makes all this even more frustrating? Is had the Bulls actually kept up their level of play that we saw at the beginning of the year, had they actually looked like a team that could be interesting to turn the corner or be ahead of schedule, they would have been in the Giannis sweepstakes to try and trade for him. Like, they legitimately would have been in the running to get him. A big market, a team that looks to be on the up and up. That could have been enticing enough for Giannis to want to come to Chicago. I still think the Bulls should just say F it and try and make an offer to the Bucks that they can't refuse at this point, because why not? What's it going to do? What's it going to hurt them? It's a pipe dream, but you might as well try. I even started working on a video for this earlier this afternoon before the game, and will likely still put it out tomorrow, even though things have kind of changed based on the loss that we just witnessed. But yeah, the Bulls and their lackluster play have all but taken them out of the running, even though they do actually have the assets to make a trade deal work for Giannis. But anyway, Bulls have the Pacers on Friday. Probably going to lose that one too, because it's, again, one of the worst teams in the league. So of course they're going to come out with poor effort and lose. This team drives me crazy. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the game. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.